Hey everybody, this is Minion Soldier, and this is the Piracy Show. Now, I've taken a couple of stabs at recording this episode today, and I'm going to take another one at it. It's been a very difficult video to make. As I'm kind of making the video and as I'm kind of talking through my points, and obviously, you know, I don't script anything. It's kind of obvious. I just kind of do flow of consciousness, and I was thinking about the Starfarer, because the Starfarer isn't a ship in Star Citizen anymore. There has been some unfortunate things that have befallen the Starfarer, and we'll get into that in a second. But overall, the Starfarer isn't a ship in the game anymore. It's a wreck that you loot or a target that you shoot. That's what the Starfarer is in the game, and I think that the misfortune that has befallen the Starfarer, the ship, I'm kind of happy that it happened. And to be perfectly honest, I think that the Starfarer should be gotten rid of. It should be used basically as an art asset. Like, this is an old archaic version of a starship that no one uses anymore, and that's why you find it wrecked on old moons and blah 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 and floating out in space. But no one buys this ship anymore, no one flies it, no one manufactures it. It's just, these are ancient shipwrecks from a time before humans really knew how to make starships. I want to get rid of this ship, but the idea of the Starfarer I want to keep. I want to replace the Starfarer with a better ship. If I was at CIG right now, like if I was Minion Soldier, director of starships, my basic plan would be to get rid of the Starfarer and replace it with a bigger and better ship. Now, the original genesis of the Starfarer was a great idea. We were all for the Starfarer. The Starfarer was amazing. This was the ship that was going to refine the quantum fuel that you needed to get around the universe, or to supply your fleet if you were going, you know, beyond the picket line out into the sticks where there is no infrastructure to support you. It's difficult to imagine these things now because we live in a system where there is all the infrastructure you need to get the quantum fuel, to get the hydrogen fuel. Everything is right at your fingertips, and it's frankly dirt cheap. So quantum fuel and hydrogen fuel really aren't a concern, but out, you know, in the far, far reaches of the universe where some of us are probably going to end up, a ship like this becomes critical. However, the ship that the Starfarer currently is an abomination and should be set on fire and pushed off a cliff. And I mean that seriously. It's garbage. The interior is a nightmare of passages. Its role as far as quantum refueling has been kind of taken away from it, which more or less means it is the worst cargo hauler in the game right now. It has mediocre cargo space, sluggish, and that's being generous handling. And it is just an awful ship, and is an awful example of bringing a ship into the game. It is obviously, I mean, like, if this ship came out today, you'd be like, who let the intern make a whole ship by themselves with no supervision, compared to the ships that we currently have. I think that if I were to play the game, if I were to be, you know, ship director for a day, for a week, for a month, for a year, one of the things that I would do is I would basically say, you know what, that's what the Starfarer is from now on. It's just it's a long forgotten memory. Some people will know the lore of how the ship originally got made, but this is going to be just an art asset that we put on the surface of a planet or hang up in an asteroid field to show an ancient shipwreck, and that's it. Because there is a better way to get the Starfarer in the game without it being this unholy abomination. And I'm sorry. I know that there's probably like one or two people out there who like the Starfarer, and you know, I hope one day somehow medical science can restore your eyesight, but for the rest of us, let's just rip the band-aid off and get rid of the ship and put something better in its role. And I have a suggestion on how to do that. Now, first off, let's talk about restoring the original role of the Starfarer, which is supplying quantum fuel to ships. This has now become a function of mining. Quantanium, great name by the way, is a substance that you mine with a traditional mining ship. It's, I guess, a metallic substance that, somehow superconducts or does super duper science things and makes ships go super duper fast. Not speed of light fast, but getting up there. If CIG wants to continue with the Solo movie quantum fuel hyperdrive fuel mechanic, fine. I think that there's a better way to go about it. I think that there is a way to kind of have your cake and eat it too in this situation. So I think that the idea of Quantanium and what CIG is going for, they've already committed to it. They've committed assets to it. They've committed time, money, and budget and effort to this. So to just basically throw it away, I think would be a bad idea. And it's kind of trying to make the best of a bad situation. It was a bad decision to do it in the first place, but it is what it is. So we got to kind of find a way to roll with the punches. So I say keep Quantanium. However, with one slight change, and that is that Quantanium isn't actually quantum fuel. Quantanium is the catalyst to make quantum fuel. I suggest that we replace the Starfarer with another variant to the Hercules Starlifter. Look at the two giant intakes on the front of the ship, and there's those two spaces underneath the wings where obviously extra equipment could be added. I think that the Hercules Starlifter should take over where the Starfarer basically would be dropped from. I think that everyone who currently owns a Starfarer should just get this variant of the Starlifter instead. This allows us to learn from the mistakes that were made in the Starfarer to give these people arguably a much better ship in return for the ship that you're going to be taking away from them. A ship that I think would make a lot more sense, and a ship that you can make certain changes to and basically adopt the entirety of the role that the Starfarer fulfilled and still keep this new Quantanium feature that some people have their mind set on keeping. Quantanium as a catalyst to create quantum fuel. I think that if you were to kind of say that, let's say this is the new Starfarer. Let's say somehow I've become director of the Starship pipeline. This is the new Starfarer. You buy Quantanium on the market. You buy pellets of Quantanium or Quantanium rods, whatever. You put them in a chemical reactor within this ship. In this ship, in the variant, it would carry 2 large fuel tanks and one kind of reaction chamber where, ordinary atmospheric hydrogen, like from a gas giant or from a nebula or whatever, is drawn in through the large intakes on the ship, or possibly to other intakes placed in the gaps underneath the wings, is brought into that chamber. It is mixed with the Quantanium. Science stuff happens, and then it creates quantum fuel that way. So you preserve the Quantanium that you want to go and you want to get and you want to refine, because it's unstable, just like in the Solo movie. It's exciting, it makes mining fun, ? And then you get to have your Starfarer, which still goes out and refines and mines quantum fuel. Well, it doesn't mine it, but you know what I mean. It extracts it from whatever source it's going to be extracting it from, and then it then processes it, creates quantum fuel, and then for this ship, realistically, if you think about it, all you would need is to hang a few drogues, I believe it's the American Navy uses for refueling jets, which is sort of like the little basket idea on the end of the hose that kind of floats behind the plane, something like that. You could employ something like that, attach a system like that to a ship like this, even attach multiples to allow you to refuel multiple ships at once. And there you could go and you could do, well, I can refuel hydrogen, or I can refuel Quantanium, or I can refuel both at the same time. Opening up those possibilities, keeping the Starfarer with its original role. Or we could go one step further and we could say, now that quantum refueling has been returned to the new and flashier and much sexier looking Starfarer, what we can do is we can return the ability to all the other ships that have been negatively affected in this process, that have lost their ability to process atmospheric hydrogen and turn it into fuel for their maneuvering thrusters and their main thrusters. whatever thrusters they're using, when they're not traveling at quantum speed, return that ability to them and let them do that once again, taking away this kind of like sword of Damocles that seems to be hanging over everybody's head, where it's like, oh my God, is hydrogen going to be a thing or not going to be a thing? Because in order for hydrogen fuel, I think, to really be impactful on gameplay, I would feel that it's going to end up feeling a little bit oppressive compared to the current gameplay that we have, and the gameplay that arguably we've had since the beginning, because there really has been no functional way for a long time in the game to go and refuel hydrogen, that even now in this day and age when it's slightly broken, most people don't feel the impact of it because hydrogen really isn't that big of a deal. And so I think to just go back to the ways of, you refine your own hydrogen through the intakes that are all over your ship, that so many ships have, everything is back to normal. Miners get Quantanium. Starfarers, new sexy Starfarers, get the ability to harvest and then refine hydrogen plus this Quantanium to create quantum fuel, and other ships get all their hydrogen, their hydrogen processing ability that they were built with back, and everything kind of returns to a much easier to understand format, I think, or just something that is much closer to what we've been playing with for so long. I think that if you wanted to go with much more, involved systems for things like just managing the hydrogen on your ship, you would have had to introduce that a lot sooner. And I mean, we have had hydrogen more or less the way that it is now, except for a few bugs where it was overusing on certain ships when you're trying to get out of the atmosphere of a planet. We've had this for like 6 years. I mean, it's a little late to kind of change and go like, oh no, that feature that we talked about putting in when we launched the game, 6 years later we're doing it now. It doesn't make sense. So I think that this I think would be the best and most elegant solution for everyone, to kind of get us away from just the killing of the Starfarer, which I agree with, just to get rid of the ship, but the idea of the Starfarer and the role that the Starfarer fulfilled, I think, is something that should be preserved in the game. And the whole thing about just ordinary everyday hydrogen fuel now becoming a precious resource that we have to keep refueling is just ridiculous. And it was never a part of the original pitch. It was always something that we knew that we weren't going to have to worry about, until someone went and saw Solo and then said, oh no, I got a way to change the whole thing and turn it all upside down. And it just ballooned into something stupid. I think that this way, everything kind of more or less goes back to the way it was. Yeah, one extra little step for the people who own a Starfarer, but realistically, in my version of the plan, they get a better ship overall, so why not? And plus, everyone else doesn't have to look at that hideous eyesore ever again, except when it's blown up, as it should be. Anyways, let me know what you think in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in the Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.